What up, everybody? It's George Langevere with Silverhammer Surveillance. Here on the channel, we talk home security, we talk smart home tech, and here lately, we've been talking about my cancer journey. Diagnosed with colon cancer back in October of 2022. I've shared my entire journey. In fact, in our last video, it was a long one. I shared from diagnosis all the way up till now. Well, the crazy thing is, after that video, we've had quite the little roller coaster ride. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is that roller coaster ride of the last couple of weeks. So we're going to go back 2 Thursdays ago, which would have been round 4 of chemo. And so I went in. When I go in for chemo, I get an infusion. I sit in a chair for a few hours. Right before that, I talk to my oncologist or my oncologist assistant. We kind of talk about everything that's happened before, in the week before, or the 2 weeks before, because I go basically 2.5 days on, then 11.5 days off of chemo, and then I start that cycle all over again. So this was round 4. I went in to talk to him and get my infusion. Now, a lot of times I'll talk to my oncologist assistant, but this time I talked to my actual oncologist, which is always nice. Talked about him before. He's very much like me, a very tell it like it is guy. So I always feel more comfortable when I talk to him because I just know I'm going to get the truth. So I went in for this little meeting. We did my labs. My labs looked good. You check your labs to make sure you can go through that next treatment, and everything looked good. He sat down, he shook my hand, and he asked me how I thought chemo was doing. Now, I told him that I thought I was doing very well, and here's why. Again, I talked about this in my last video. Things are going very well. I've eliminated all my symptoms that originally got me to go in for my first colonoscopy. By the way, if you're 45, male or female, go get a colonoscopy. It'll save your life, or could save your life. Anyway, so all my symptoms that got me to go to get that colonoscopy were gone, which is blood in the stool, irregular bowel habits. Everything had gone back to normal, which has been great. Not only that, but there's a tumor marker with colon cancer. And basically, if you're over 10, that means things are getting aggressive. If you're over 20, shit has hit the fan, it's going all over the place. So you want to keep that under 10. Now, in my journey, I started at 7.9, and that slowly but surely had been shrinking through my chemo treatments. So at this time, we were at a 2.6. And so I was excited about that because a normal person without cancer, a healthy person, is between 0 and 2.5. If you're a smoker and a little more unhealthy, you can be between a 0 and a 5. So 2.6 was great. I was very excited about that. And so everything I was sharing with him was good news. And then I think he was asking me before he talked, because he wanted to make sure I didn't just throw some wrinkle in there and say, no, doc, I feel like crap or whatever. But as soon as I told him I thought it was working, he was very happy because he thought it was working. And this was all very encouraging. And for a guy that tells it like it is like him, he wouldn't bullshit me. And so the fact that we had such a nice conversation that was so positive about how chemo is going, I was very happy about that. Now, just so you kind of know, that day I had, again, my favorite topic, talking about going to the bathroom. I had gone to the bathroom that day, but throughout that day, I kind of felt some cramps, which was weird. And I knew something was wrong, but I just didn't know what. And I'd gone to the bathroom, so I didn't think it was that. And then in fact, I went again that night. So I went in, talked to him, went about my day, and then got my infusion. And then I get my little MRS, my little chemo pump. I take that home from Thursday to Saturday morning. So Thursday afternoons and Fridays, I just take it easy. So Thursday afternoon, I just hung out. Later that evening, I went to the bathroom. But then Friday came along, and again, I was just going to sit around and kind of binge watch some stuff and kind of recover from that infusion, because when you got your MRS on, you get fatigued, and that's just part of the process. But that whole day, I just wasn't going to the bathroom. And again, this was 2 Fridays ago. And so I just kind of slowly but surely started to feel, no pun intended, like crap. And so my daughter, Delaney, was going to come over. We were going to have dinner and have a nice evening, but I just wasn't feeling good. And by the afternoon, about 3 o'clock, I just felt more uncomfortable than I've ever felt. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And it was like when you have to throw up, when you're sick and you have to throw up, but you can't, or if you have to go to the bathroom and you're constipated and you can't. But it just kept getting worse and worse. And when Delaney got here, I wanted to hang out with her so badly, but she could tell that just something wasn't right. And I had to go upstairs, and I was trying to go to the bathroom. And it just wasn't happening. So I didn't know if I needed to get sick or if I needed to go to the bathroom. So I just tried to make myself throw up. And so I did that, just hoping, sometimes you get relief if you have the flu or whatever. And I did that, and nothing came out except this milk and magnesium, because I started to take that thinking maybe it was the bathroom situation. But that's all that came out. No food came out, no relief came out. So I was like, crap, this isn't good. And it just kept getting worse. And it was seriously the most uncomfortable I've ever been. So we called an on-call doctor from our oncologist office, but it's an on-call doctor. We don't know him. He couldn't see me. He didn't know what I was looking like, how I was feeling for real. He just kept telling me to try the milk of magnesium and see if I could pass some gas or go to the bathroom. And it just wasn't happening. And I'm a guy that just doesn't go to the doctor very often. I've just never been very sickly. And Teresa, I was telling her, something's not right here. We can't listen to this doctor. I got to go to the ER. And thank goodness I did. So on Friday night, I went to the ER and they put an NG tube in my throat, which is disgusting. Basically, because I couldn't go to the bathroom, basically you're emptying everything out, up through your esophagus, into your mouth, out into a tube. It's just horrible. Just having it put in was horrible. But I was starting to feel a little bit relief, but it just wasn't completely working. And so basically they decided to do a CT scan. They checked me and my colon was completely blocked. And so I wasn't able to go to the bathroom because it was blocked. And it was blocked by my original tumor, my colon cancer tumor. So I have colon cancer that spread to my liver. If you've watched my previous videos, I am stage 4 because it spread to my liver. And so anytime cancer spreads, it becomes stage 4. But again, the original tumor in my colon has been the problem that started all this all along, and it was blocking my colon. And if I hadn't gone in, turns out my colon probably would have burst, and that would have been very bad news. So in this whole journey, I've had a liver surgeon, I've had my oncologist, which is the quarterback of the situation, and I've had a colorectal surgeon, because way back when this first started, before we thought it spread to my liver, I was going to get this colon surgery. And this colon surgery, basically they remove where the tumor is, they remove tissue around it, depending on how much it is spread, that's how much they remove. They take that out, and then they fuse your colon back together. Then they also take some lymph nodes out. Now, before I found out that I spread to my liver, I was supposed to get that colon surgery right off the bat. And this whole liver thing, which if you go back and watch my videos, that was a whole nother fork in the road that it took us down. But I was supposed to get that surgery. So my team, my colorectal team, which was going to do that, they weren't available because it was the weekend. My actual oncologist wasn't available because it was the weekend. But people from their team all came in, and basically they came in and discussed my situation. And because it was blocked, they really needed to do something. And there were two options. They could do a procedure where basically I get an ostomy bag, and that's a little more cumbersome and a little more detrimental to what they can do in the future. Or they could do a stent. And a stent basically would just open up my colon temporarily and get things going. And so that was the option we decided to go with, because basically that would open up the future. It's the least invasive. They did it through a colonoscopy. But the problem was there was only one doctor on the team that could do it, and we didn't know if he was available again because of the weekend. And they were telling me we might have to wait till Monday. Again, this was on Friday/Saturday morning. And I was thinking by Monday my colon was going to burst. So thank goodness one of the people on my colorectal team called this surgeon. Thank goodness he just decided to come in, and he did a stent through a colonoscopy. I was only on the table for 18 minutes. Again, as far as colonoscopies go, they are nothing as far as procedure goes. Go back and watch my previous videos. I talk about the prep, and that part sucks. But the colonoscopy itself is nothing. And in this case, again, I didn't even know what happened. But they put a stent in, and then after that, I had to stay in the hospital so I got in there on Friday night. I was there until Monday. Mm-hmm. So I was there until Monday. So basically they started giving me soft foods, wanted to make sure that I could go to the bathroom. And at first it was very diarrhea-ish. And again, I hate talking about this stuff, but I got to spread this awareness. But slowly but surely I started to get back on track. And so from then on, we decided I'm just going to take some stool softeners and just move forward. So in this whole process, my plan was 12 rounds of chemo, and we were going to burn out the liver spots, hopefully shrink my original tumor. Now, again, this was round 4 that I had just gone in for when this all happened. So actually, through this whole process, I actually had my little chemo pump, my little MRSA on, which made this whole hospital stay even more challenging. I actually got that removed in the hospital, so that was a whole nother aspect to this whole thing. But the original plan was I was going to go through 12 rounds of chemo. After 6 rounds, we were going to take a PET scan, because I had been through CT scans, I had been through MRIs. None of them really showed what we needed to show. And when I first got my first PET scan, that's when we saw these liver spots. And that's what changed all of this from what I thought was going to be stage 1 or stage 2 to stage 4 cancer. So from then on, we decided we're only doing PET scans because PET scans light up cancer like a Christmas tree, and it's a true indication on how you're doing. So the original plan was to go 6 rounds, get that PET scan, see how we were doing, do another 6 rounds, and they were very optimistic that that chemo was going to burn out the spots in my liver, shrink my original tumor, and then after 12 rounds, we were going to do that colon surgery and get that tumor out of me, and that way we were just going to be all good to go. But because of this obstruction, they actually wanted to do that tumor surgery in that hospital 2 weeks ago, but they couldn't because the problem is, as part of my chemo regimen, there's a drug called Avastin, and that drug, basically cancer is smart enough to create its own blood vessels, which is just a scary thing. Cancer can start to just do crazy things in your body. Well, this Avastin is designed to stop that stuff from happening. But the problem is it also attacks healthy stuff, and so what that does is it makes it hard for you to heal. So in this case, if I were to get a surgery, it would have been bad news because that Avastin was in my system, and it would have made it very challenging and also could have caused a perforation in my colon, which could get us right back to a bursting and also being bad news. So their challenge was they wanted to do that surgery, but they couldn't because I was on chemo and I had this Avastin in my system. So instead of the original plan now, which was 6 months, then a PET scan, then 6 more rounds, and then just hopefully burn it out and get the surgery, we have changed that to now so I just finished round 5 yesterday, because again, this whole thing happened 2 weeks ago. So after this experience, we decided to get a PET scan like a couple days later. So I had round 5 on Thursday. Last Tuesday, I had a PET scan. And so we've decided to do that PET scan, then do 2 more rounds of chemo without the Avastin in it, because they want to have me have at least 6 weeks of no Avastin to make sure that if I get this colon surgery, which is now the plan after a couple weeks, that I'm going to get this colon surgery, get this tumor out, and that's going to be a wonderful thing, but I got to get this Avastin out first. So anyway, I went through round 5, and again, I have this consultation before each round of chemo, and we talked about the PET scan results from Tuesday. Now, we had gone from horrible news that 2 weeks ago, where I'm in the hospital, when the colon's blocked, like what the hell, we thought we were doing great. Just had this conversation before that round with my oncologist about how good we were doing. Then I have this obstruction. We're both like, what the hell? In fact, my oncologist's words, he ended up visiting me in the hospital on my last day. He actually said, what the F? And he's a very tele-like-it-is guy, and I like that. So he's like, what's going on here? So anyway, so we go to round 5 and we discuss the PET scan results. And this is with the roller coaster part. We went from bad news to probably the best news I've received in my life. So here's the deal. After that PET scan, we have determined that there are no longer spots on my liver that are identifiable by a PET scan, which is fantastic news because the PET scan lights up cancer like a Christmas tree. So if a PET scan's not seeing them, turns out that these rounds of chemo are burning them out. And so it looks like everything is good as far as that goes. So stage 4 is the scary part of this whole thing. And if those liver spots are gone, that kind of drops me down. Like, I'll always be stage 4 just because that's my diagnosis, but this is great news. Not only that, but we've determined that my chemo has also shrunk my tumor considerably, which is fantastic news, but also makes this obstruction so much stranger. But what we've determined is we think that we've shrunk the tumor, and basically it's just pissed off, and it's inflamed and nasty because it's shrinking, and it just blocked me. So it's like it's tried to fight back, but as my shirt says, guess what? We're finding out I'm still kicking its ass. So it's wonderful news. So this PET scan went from hospital, blockage, horribleness, to what the hell's going on, to PET scan right back in the good, and probably the best news I've ever got. Because now I'm gonna go through one more round, which is round 6. So round 5 we just did, round 6 we're gonna do without the Avastin, which means my body's gonna get clear of this drug. That's gonna allow me to get this surgery, which is our next step, to get the original tumor out of my colon. Which means with the liver spots gone, and by the way, the reason we couldn't get that surgery in the first place is because if I had these liver spots, there was no need to take the tumor out if I had cancer somewhere else. But now with these liver spots gone, we can take that tumor out, and basically, as long as everything's cool, I'm starting from scratch. And I could get close to cancer-free as humanly possible because the liver spots are gone, the tumor will be gone, and then I'll take 6 more rounds of chemo just to make sure it's all burnt out. And then this could be wonderful news. Like, we're fighting for NED, which is no evidence of disease, and that's basically like remission. But if I can get the cancer spots or the liver spots gone, get the tumor gone, and I had one inflamed lymph node on this PET scan. That was the only negative about the PET scan, but they think that could just be because it's reacting to everything going on, you know, all these cancer cells being destroyed, liver spots being destroyed, because the lymph nodes is what spreads everything. So one inflamed lymph node, but they think that's normal and not a big concern. And so if I can get that back to normal, and by the way, with this colon surgery, they take a few lymph nodes out just to examine them and make sure that it's not still spreading. So hopefully that's one of them. But man, I could be starting from scratch and I could be going from stage 4, didn't know what was going to happen, what my prognosis was, to a wonderful prognosis of nothing in my liver, continuing to burn everything out. And who knows? We may have just added a decade to my life. We don't know, but I can tell you this, it's good news. So that's it. That's my little roller coaster ride of the last couple weeks. Went from obstruction, possible colon bursting, complete nastiness, little hospital stay, NG tube, which is horrible, to going to this PET scan, which showed wonderfulness. It's just a beautiful thing. So what it's saying to me is that chemo is working. I've changed my diet, that is working. And then they can't tell me enough how much my positive attitude has helped. And I'm telling you right now, that's because of all of you. I'm a pretty positive guy as it is. And what am I going to do? I can't just sit here and mope. And I'm a fighter. And I'm going to fight this thing no matter what happens. And I was from the very beginning. I wasn't going to let this take me out. But the positivity comes from you and the support around the world. I can't tell you how much it means to me. So please keep it coming, because we're calling our group, our worldwide group, the Langevere Fight Club. And I'm telling you, we're powerful because we are kicking stage 4 colon cancer's ass. And it's you guys helping me do it, and my positivity and a change of diet and chemo. You know, people tell me about these crazy solutions to cancer. No offense, I very much appreciate your comments and your concern, but I'm going to stick with what the trained medical professionals tell me to do because it's working. Working with a dietitian, working with my oncologist, working with my colorectal surgeon, my liver surgeon. It is working. So I'm telling you, for all of you out there, chemo does work, at least in my case. So if you're going through it, man, and you want to give up, so many of you have told me you want to give up, and my videos and my positivity have helped you keep going. Keep going. Because man, if I come out the other side of this with no cancer for whoever knows how long, and with stage 4, I'll be a little more susceptible to coming back in my life. And I accept that. But man, if I can get rid of it for as long as I can, my life just changed drastically in the last week or so. So that's it. So keep the comments coming, keep the positivity coming. I just wanted to share that journey and this little roller coaster ride. It's also why I've been gone the last few weeks. I don't think we released a video for about 3 weeks. That's why, because things got a little crazy. So we're going to get back on track here. We're going to get some content going. We got a smart home video coming for the HomePods, the new HomePods I'm very excited about. I just shot a new trailer for the channel for 2023. We're going to get back on track here. So bear with me through all this. This is exactly why I'm sharing this journey, because I want you all on it with me, and I want to keep spreading that awareness. So please, thank you, and until the next video, peace and love.